So Tim Weaver's The Last Goodbye, a very different novel from a novel that we have been reading, any of the novels that we have been reading to date.
Yeah.
There's a lot of kind of different plots and timelines and themes and characters and settings all running throughout the text. And one thing that I noticed, and I know this was something that we had talked about throughout the week when we were kind of in the throes of reading the text, which was very, very, very easy to consume. Nice short chapters.
Oh, yeah, you're flying
Really, really short. And as you pointed out, every chapter hangs like there's a little
it was
hook
doing my head,
or
and it was
cliff.
not. It was the dramatic short sentence, and it was because I had to go back and check once I noticed, and I was like, how can you get away with every single chapter ending with a short sentence? It is not that serious.
But it was, I didn't actually pick up on that until, again, I went back. It wasn't that I was going to fact check, but
and
I
then
was
it
just going to
probably
look.
annoyed you.
No, it didn't annoy me, but I was
Friggin'
it was
bug me.
something that I wasn't. But I find that very, very engaging because it was a case of, I'm going to you're going to move
I
on.
do get that as a plot device, like it's like a cliffhanger nearly, but see when it's overused.
Do you think it was overdone? Just too much?
My head was about to go. I was cringing at a point. I was like, how many short sentences can we use? I'm not filled with suspense. I was filled with dread at that point. I was like, ugh.
But that's maybe just the literary connoisseur in you coming out there at that.
I know, I feel like in books that you read, there's one thing that an author will always do, but it's not as obvious. I don't think that short sentence was doing my head in.
But I think that stood out because of the plot. So you had like two mysteries, if you like, or two murders, or two. Well, no.
It was
not necessarily a murder, but missing persons from 1985, and then the missing persons in the here and now. So you had the two girls,
but there was also murder. People also died.
There was murder, yeah. But you had the two. So kind of primarily, you had the Tom Bremner and his son who had gone missing at the playground, fairground setting at the start. And then you had the missing women from 1985. And it was an interesting experience reading the two stories and wondering how they were interlinked. Yeah. How did you find that he did that?
So whenever I first started reading it, obviously the opening is like that they're first, in
the present.
Yeah. And those two people, that man and his son, going missing. And then all of a sudden, you're following this completely different story. For like most of the text, you're going, when are we ever going to get back to this? But I don't think it was poorly executed because it did all tie together eventually.
Well, I thought it was. Do you know what I would say? It wasn't. I thought it was very well written, very clever, and very, very detailed. Like the detail and the planning and the research that had gone into this text, and it was very clever in the way that everything was interwoven. Because for all intents and purposes, there were two distinct stories that were being told at the same time. So Weaver's skill as an author, I thought, was second to none. But what I found really, really interesting about this text was it was such an overtly masculine, authorial voice the whole way through. And I know that it's not that we haven't read male authors before, but this really came across as being, it was really very logical, and there was a lack of emotional reaction. You know, the way we've been talking about the climax of the text, and you had said that you found perhaps that something that was lacking in it was that kind of emotional response. Like, where was Tom Bremner's wife whenever he was missing, her son was missing, and all of that? Yeah. But that was superfluous to what was happening in the book. That's I'm going to be sexist here and say that's the female in you wanting that. Well,
the thing is, I feel like what he was presenting was nearly like what men think they are. Does that make sense? Like, oh, I'm so tough. I didn't
get that.
Yeah, no, but it's that there was there was something unbelievable for me in the character of David Raker, in that he just seemed like everything did not faze him, and it did my head in, because I was like, come on, you nearly died there, you know that man's coming to get you, and now you're just walking the streets again. I just even looking, checking his back.
No, I wouldn't say that I found him actually quite realistic, the characterization of Raker, because what he did was, again, he was clearly a detective, a private investigator, or, had been a journalist. So he was able to kind of very logically compartmentalize everything. And it was like, I can't look. The difference again, and I think this is where the masculine comes in. He compartmentalized because
I'm just imagining
what he was able. Let me finish this. What he was able to do was, look, I can't deal with that at the minute. So he thought, that's tomorrow's problem. I will sort that.
The issue he couldn't deal with was like his impending jail sentence or his impending death. Yeah, every man's just going to be like, that's tomorrow's problem.
No, it just wasn't as simplistic as that. It really wasn't.
Especially towards the end, I was like, are you serious? Are you serious? You're not going to consider this now? Your whole life is on the line? Nah, that's for tomorrow. It did get to the point, because I get what you're saying. There are things where logically you go, right, there's only so much in the day that I can do. Let's put this to the side. Everything was pushed to the side. I do not know how that man lived. I don't even did he cook a meal once in this book? I swear.
What are you talking about?
I swear.
The fact of the matter is that but again, this is where you're coming from. You're expecting some kind of this emotional kind of register. What has cooking a meal got to do with anything?
I swear, that man.
You're picking up at key different points of the action and the activity. I think you're being really, 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 really difficult about the characterization.
Because there was just something about. Now, I didn't mind that fella, Colm Haley. I feel like he was realistic because he was scared. I felt that. I goes, look, there's a man that can show his emotions. That's an icon.
No, it's not.
No, he is. Because...
it wasn't that he was afraid. It wasn't. No, it's not. I think you're conflating two different issues here.
David Raker was like, I'm untouchable,
No,
if death comes to my door.
No. He did show humanity. He did show that he was grieving the loss of his wife, and all of that kind of emotional baggage that he had. But he was very focused, and I think that his career and his investigation into these disappearances and trying to work them out, that was his distraction and his focus, and he was really, really, really driven to find that, to the point where he was trying to lose himself and his own issues in that, I would argue.
What a selfless man.
I didn't say he was selfless.
You can never make me like him.
He wasn't being presented as a hero. He definitely wasn't being presented as a hero, because from the get-go, you had a very flawed character, because obviously there was a lot of treading on the right and wrong side of the law. Because
it was nearly like
you mentioned
vigilantism.
Yes, because Healy, this is interesting, and it's something that we haven't talked about yet. Healy was a policeman who had been put in jail for faking his own death and DNA, swapping out things and all of the rest. And then you have the other police personnel who have been compromised and who go on to do really terrible things because of their own weaknesses, whether that be family, whether that be secrets or whatever that they have to deal with. So there's really I find that perspective really interesting, the way that Weaver presented the police and the propensity for corruption. But the way that he presented the police force and the propensity for corruption, and then that competitive element, that how they would rather sabotage someone like Raker who is essentially showing them up for their failures.
But you can, like, that there bit I kind of found a bit realistic, you know, in that you can kind of see how the police and the media are like two opposite ends. Like, they do not
What do you
mix.
mean now?
You know, like, that's what Riker said whenever he was a journalist, you know, he was nearly solving all their crimes, you know, or doing like big exposés and stuff. And the police don't like that because then
It shows them up.
And I felt like that there kind of is, you know, the relationship that police and media have together, you know, like you can, I would say more so in America, you know, the way they do all those big exposés.
Well,
and
do
stuff,
you think of all the characters that we have in there, the historic characters, the baddie, Cronier or
I'm not gonna lie,
Gary Holt, whatever his name was, you know, and the his kind of historic backstory that you find out very later at the end of it, Martin Larson. There was nobody in that text and who came out of it with any kind of upstanding moral compass, you know, any kind of good moral compass.
I think it does, for all I slag the emotional thing, it does kind of show how far, you know, a person will go whenever they're backed into a corner. You know, so do you remember that, I can't remember her name, that police detective girl, who she was told to join the club at the castle because that's why she wasn't getting her promotions, because nobody knew her. She wasn't a social butterfly the same way they were.
She wasn't, but again, that exposes the boys' club and all of that.
Yeah, but
and I don't even think boys' club. It's just that again, when you have to kind of be mixing so that people can get to know you and all of that. So,
but like it's even, you know, she was trying to protect her sister, and then, you know, that phone call that was made and all.
I do.
Like her doing that, and I'm not saying what she did was right, but again, I feel like when it's family, you would nearly do anything for your family to get them on the right foot. You know, she probably thought, you know, I know what she did was wrong, but I need to help her.
She did try. I think that her character, even though she died very quickly within the, you know, upon us meeting her, getting to know her backstory
really
and all of that.
Yeah.
But she did try. There was almost like a piece that she was getting this off her chest.
Yes.
You know,
but
that
like,
she was.
That blackmail, you know, and the fact that she was willing to work with someone like Cronier to ensure that, you know, her secret didn't get out. She was protecting her sister ultimately. And I felt like that was realistic because she was in a way protecting herself too, because she would have lost her job and everything. But I feel like that's something that people would do. You know, I feel like I'm rambling here, but do you know what I mean? Like if you're backed into a corner and someone's holding something over you, nearly out of fear, you know, you would do whatever it takes to.
Well,
protect yourself
everybody
and
has
others.
a breaking point. Everybody has a point. But I think that.
But then we had people like, what do you call the manager from the castle? You know, he sold, or he went to the media then and hid from Gary Holt. You know, because he realised...
He wasn't, you know, he didn't have a good moral compass. Sure, he was there when Larson was murdered.
Yeah.
But
he was terrified.
Yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
he was terrified. But he still, you know, therein lies the question as well.
I never said he had a good moral compass.
But to do a bad, you know...
But I feel like
you can be complicit
in
something without actually carrying it out, you know.
But I feel for him, he was terrified, you know, and ultimately, again, like all of us, we're human. We're going to try to protect ourselves and make sure that we're out of harm's way. So he did try, I think, to do the right thing, but rather than being open and honest, he hid, you know, to prevent either death or jail time, you know, because he wasn't coming out and saying it to the media or giving his name, you know.
Well, what do you think about Martine Parks, the twist with her character? She was another there was a another police detective who was kind of investigating the case against Healy and Raker together.
Yeah.
And how her story intertwined with the kind of the expose of the Cronier and the Tom Bremner plot line as well, and her involvement in that and her action and
Yeah.
did you see that coming, by the way?
Did I see it coming? I have to say, up until he went to her, until she said, "Come over, I want to talk to you," at that point I was like, "There's something going on here," but no, I didn't. I thought I was like
disappointed. I was so disappointed.
I know. But the thing was, do you remember she left the note?
Yes, with the handwriting.
Yeah, I just goes, God, I knew she was nice. I knew she was nice. That's all that was in my head. And again, I feel like out of all the characters, she was probably my favourite. Just in that, I genuinely did not get any of her motives until the very end. And I goes, class.
Did you, so again, spoiler alert, before we go any further, but the fact that she turned out to be a relation of Rebecca's, did you see that coming? How did you feel about that?
I liked it. I thought it was interesting. I would have preferred if they were able to get in touch at the end or something, because I feel like for Rebecca, who I also liked, that would have been great closure for her, you know, to realise she wasn't alone in this world, because I feel like for her there was still a lot of things left unanswered, you know.
Even with the letter that was presented at the end.
Yeah, it wasn't that there. That was written from the mum's perspective of the story and all. Yeah, I still think it would have been. I think it would have been nice for the reader to see that relationship, you know, or to see them meeting or something, you know, because again, she is very much alone in the world. You know,
I don't think that would have fit with the style of writing within the text had that happened. I think that would have been, it would have been disingenuous to the style of the book and to the plot.
Well, maybe this is a series, so maybe they'll.
Do you know what I thought when I was reading this? I find this. I don't know if you've read any of the. Is it the Strike novels, Robert Galbraith? It's J.K. Rowling.
Oh no, I know. Yeah, you've told me about them.
Writing under the pseudonym Robert Galbraith. And the reason that I bring this up is because I mentioned the masculine is very much, I think, a very masculine mind. It was very logical. And I'm not saying that in a bad way, because I thoroughly enjoyed this. It was so different from anything that I would usually gravitate towards, so I find it actually quite refreshing and insightful. But having read I think I've read two of the Robert Galbraith ones, I find that even though Rowling is writing under a male pseudonym, that the female aspect of her character was still coming through in the writing, and it you know it's trying to execute this style, but whenever you're reading the two texts side by side, and you can compare them. I don't know what is wrong with me tonight. I just can't.
Just lagging a wee bit.
There's a little bit of a lag. I'm buffering. Obviously, the Wi-Fi up here isn't doing what it should do. I do think that those, you know, for me, that one doesn't read as authentic as this one, you know, in terms of the similar style.
That for the likes of J.K. Rowling trying to write under a pseudonym, I feel
she
like
has to.
Yes,
but to come back to the last goodbye, so we've talked about the kind of parallel plots and the time travel and the structure and all of that and the authorial voice. When we got to the end and we were starting to kind of knit all these connections were slowly but surely being evolved, one thing that I would say, if I have a criticism of it, and it's just a small thing, it's not a big deal, I was nearly like, okay, it's going to be over now. Okay,
yes,
I felt that it was just maybe laboured over just a little bit too much.
This is where my loathing of the short sentence comes in.
Christina.
So he gets to the cellar and he enters the door, ends in a short sentence. We're like, what's going to happen? Then you have a flashback and you're like, so you read your flashback, and then you're back in the cellar and there's another door.
But that
and
is
then
the
there's going to be a
suspense.
short sentence. No, it was overdone. And then another flashback. You skim through that because you're like, what's happening? And then you go in and there's no danger. That annoyed me because I was just like, come on, give me something. There's a wall he looks at. He's like, oh my God, he's painted a mural of South Africa.
No, I
didn't. I feel
that
like it took so long.
That wasn't what I was getting at when I said that's what's interesting that you've picked that up.
That was so drawn out, that whole process.
No, where you were going in
How
and
big
we found
was the
that
cellar?
that Cronier was,
This was like a whole other
chained
world
up.
to me.
And no, I'm talking about after the person.
Oh, really?
With the anonymous person with the voice changer has.
Oh, that
spoken
did
and
go
all of
on
that.
a wee bit, yeah.
After that I just thought, okay, we've got to the kind of the resolution of where Tom and his son are. Cronier's dead. After all of this, and you're just like, okay, the pace just needed to be just a little bit faster for me.
I think
there was just too much there.
Writing the end of a novel is the biggest difficulty because you don't want it to be wrapped up too quick where you're like, there's too many loose ends, but then there's also the risk then that you're drawing it out too much.
What did you think of the historical element that was brought in?
I didn't think it was necessary.
Apartheid, South Africa. But I think even if you look into Tim Weaver, I think it's either him or his wife is South African.
Oh,
so
well,
there
maybe,
was a wee bit
a connection there.
I think that was where that came in, that he was bringing that kind of historical, maybe it was a passion of his or something. And it was, the C10 was the C9 or whatever it was. And Cronier, whilst he was a fictional character,
was based
around kind of
true
people events and activities that had happened and atrocities that had happened. So I find that interesting, but I would have liked that brought in a little sooner, to be introduced a little bit sooner, to be part of the narrative and the plot driving through, because I just felt like it was...
Oh, you just hit you in the face. That was the thing, like...
At the end.
Yeah, I feel like it didn't really, add much to the story because it was so... I feel like at the end, that bit was also really rushed because nearly all the last chapters were going back and forth between present day Gary Holt and then who he was before. And I don't know, for me, it didn't add anything. It was kind of like, well...
But to play devil's advocate, because I know we're talking at this and we're going into it in a wee bit of detail and all the rest, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I want everybody to know that this is really a really worthwhile read. It is brilliantly written. And, we're just kind of talking through the little things. But to play devil's advocate in terms of what you were saying there, perhaps it added, again, a little bit of realism that real life isn't...
we're not introduced to everything from the start.
And if you are investigating something, that you're getting all of these little different pieces of information, some are relevant,
you know what might have been
aren't.
Effective? To have a prologue that focused sort of on the South African bit, where we're kind of going, right, what does this that might have been more effective.
With Menke Bauer and that
rather than
yes.
And then we're going, because again, you knew that this Holt fella and this Larson fella weren't who they said they were, because you go through those unknown chapters and all. But I feel like if there was a prologue just focusing on that, nothing spectacular or anything, but just something that the reader's intrigued, going, oh, I wonder what this is about, and then jump into that.
Well, that would work too. I also think that the text itself would work really, really well as a, to be dramatized.
Oh, yes. Because it would be a great, one of those Harlan Coben sort of style things.
Only it would be a Tim Weaver kind of
style
thing.
But you knew... I'm trying to think what's the big thriller author on Netflix,
but that would be... It would work really, really well like that, because it was nearly like each chapter and each section was like an episode that was drawing you in, and you were being kind of taken down these little meeting these people and then trying to see how it all fits in together. In terms of the setting, how did you react?
The
what
setting
did you think?
is also something that annoys me.
Oh God.
Right. This
Okay,
book,
I'm sorry, I'm asking all the wrong questions.
No, there's
tonight.
only one thing about the setting.
Did you have
that
a
annoys
bad
me.
day today? Do you need to talk?
Was this book? No. So you wouldn't know it. Well, you would know it. It gives you the date. But this book is set during December. And the only hint that it's a Christmas period is him moving a Christmas tree once. And that annoyed me because I think the backdrop of Christmas would have created, you know, that contrast. It would have created so much more suspense if that was utilised more. He moved a Christmas tree. Class.
Well, you've gone full Die Hard here. You know, is Die Hard a Christmas movie or not? Because it's,
no, I'm just saying
that wasn't even a big factor in it.
No, but the thing
was just
is,
the time of the year.
Yes, the thing is, but there was no mention of like crowds, people at Christmas shopping, anything. You know, there was no sense of, do you know that sort of.
But I'm going to say that fits in with Raker's characterization because
he hates Christmas.
No, it's not that he hates Christmas, but Christmas is usually a time where you focus on family, you focus on all of that. The fact that he doesn't have his wife anymore, there's another little.
But do you not think it would have been great
device.
character development to have that to share those there?
I actually thought Raker was a really, really convincing character.
You didn't even know it was set at Christmas. You went, was it? And I says, yeah. It's the first clue is December, and then there's a Christmas tree that's moved from one corner to the next, and I was like, "Is this it?"
But you're picking up on things that
it just annoyed me. Like,
obviously,
I just felt like it would have had you. It would have had you more invested, I think, because it's December. Everybody still is ready for Christmas in December. I get maybe him not having the decorations up in his own house.
The loneliness that he
But I didn't feel that because there was no mention of it other than this one Christmas tree in the middle of the book being moved. Not even in his own house. So, wind me up.
But that's why he was compartmentalizing everything.
He wasn't compartmentalizing Christmas. He just didn't bring it up.
Because he couldn't. Because that would have
I don't think so.
Aggravated
I think
his
that
loneliness,
honestly,
his loss.
the author just forgot about it, and he goes, I need to mention a Christmas tree because I'm writing in December and people.
No, I think that
this.
you are zooming in there on something that is completely. You're being ridiculous now. I am just going to call you out on it. You are being ridiculous.
The backdrop of Christmas,
I tell you.
The backdrop of Christmas would have been class. I'm sorry. It would have. Do you know? You could have had a really dramatic. If it was a TV show, you know, da 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 da. But you could have. Do you know that Carol of the Bells? But really dramatic. You could even do it in like a minor key.
Oh, sweet Lord!
I'm thinking of the TV show now.
You're going down a whole rabbit hole here that has absolutely nothing
he's completely
to do with
missed
this.
it because this may as well have been set in the summer.
Hold on. Why don't you write your own novel?
No, but I'll do corrections for that one if he likes.
I didn't. So, are we saying that you didn't like
this?
I
did like it.
Well,
I did like it.
What is your problem?
Look, I'm just being
She's
picky.
had a bad day. She's definitely... I don't even know where to look at this point. I'm actually feeling a wee bit afraid at the minute.
No, it's a thriller, and the more I pick through it, the more I'm like, you have to do it with thrillers.
Yes, it was a thriller, but there were no plot holes in it, Christina.
There was. Christmas was a plot hole.
That was not a plot hole.
Also, another plot hole. He could have killed Gary Holt that first time. I'm sorry. Whatever way you want to spin it. He could have killed him. He was hiding and he was like, he'll never find me here. I'm like, jump out and get him. And then guess what? Because he hesitated, he flipping found him.
Christina, I'm just going to introduce you to Gary Holt, okay?
Also, no man is untouchable, by the way.
Assassin, murderer,
you'd think he was
trained,
Batman.
All of these things, very lethal skills. And then I'm going to take you right back
60.
to, doesn't matter, to David Raker, who
was a young, generally a young man.
A journalist and a private investigator.
Who also likes to think that he's fairly fit.
There's being fairly fit, and then there's being a trained assassin.
A 40-year-old man could take a 60-year-old man. Any day of the week. And it's only whenever he's hanging there, he's going, oh my God, he's old. And it's like, yeah, the whole time, did you know that? You could have fought him. And he's going, nah, not for me. A girl took him down. What does that say about the masculinity in this book?
What did she have to do in order to take him down, though?
Chain him up to a wall.
The element of surprise.
So Raker had the element of surprise that first time.
No, he didn't. He was hiding.
Yep. So was she. Whenever she surprised him, boo, he didn't know she was there.
Oh, Christina, come on, you're so bad. You're so bad.
That's why I like Martine Parks.
Did you like her? I didn't like her.
I just thought she was cool. I did. If I was a police detective, I'd want to be her. Corruption and all.
No, I just thought what it showed was in terms of the police, the fact that human beings or that anybody in a position of responsibility has to be really very careful about their interactions. And they it can't be one rule for me and another rule for someone else. So I think he really did shine a very good light on that. But I really, really enjoyed it. I found it very easy to read. I thought it was really, really captivating. And I would be very keen to read more of Weaver's novels.
I feel like it is. I feel whenever I started it, I found it hard to follow, honestly, because there was that many names being thrown at you. And it took me maybe until that first third of it to go, this is clearly a series, because you were being introduced to characters and he was like, I met such and such before here, and it was minimal explanation. And I was going, there must be, other books where this character is featured more heavily. And lo and behold, Google told me I was right. So...
Thank God for Google.
I know.
But you can pick that up and read it as a standalone text.
Yeah, you do. Yeah. It is one of those ones. Now, when I say, there's links to other texts, it is minimal. It's not that you have to have read it, but if you're like me and a pile of names coming out, you jumbles your brain, perhaps.
So your takeaway from the text, what would your takeaway be?
More Christmas, more festivities, please. But overall, it was good.
It's just a different. This would not be a text that you would gravitate towards normally.
See, if I seen that in the shop, honestly, I would overlook it.
Yeah, because it's not something. So This was my choice this week because I do like thrillers. Honestly, and a wee bit of suspense.
Most of the time, I'm going to say something absolutely dreadful, perhaps a bit sexist. But if I have any inkling that it's a boy, I will generally not read it. I do not like the male voice.
Really?
Not overly.
Even though we read The Silent Patient, and that was...
I don't know why, but that was different. I don't know why.
You are so contrary.
I know. And I also like Brandon Sanderson as well.
You are so... I was just going to say, we have...
But generally, my preference
for a thriller, you wouldn't go for...
Typically, no. Well, for any book, typically not male voice. I don't know why. It's just a preference. I just think women writers are better, but...
Ah, okay. And that's not controversial.
Yeah, I said it was a wee bit sexist. It's just my opinion.
The mic drop moment there. And I thought, I was supposed to be the one that was, who's got the wee 90-year-old woman inside them now? Not me.
No, mine was like a moody 15-year-old girl saying all that stuff.
Oh, so you're juvenile, is that it?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I was just trying to say I was very young on the inside. So anyway,
on another note,
the next author we're looking at is female.
The next author that we are looking at is Rebecca Yarros. And I have to say, if it is possible to be in love with a book, I am in love with this text. So we are going to be reviewing The Things We Leave Unfinished. And
would you have said that about that one?
No, but it's a different style of book. And I am I actually am in love with this book. I
That
really
is
am.
good.
It is something else. It is just wonderful. And I just, when I put it down at night,
You're like, "No."
I'm thinking about it in the morning. I'm thinking about the characters. I'm thinking about the plot. I'm wondering what's going to happen.
It's like when you find a book like that, any other mundane activity you have to do during the day, you're like, no, please.
When I'm in school, I'm just thinking, okay,
get me back to my
what
book.
time can I get back to my
Yeah.
book? So I am in love with this book. So I cannot wait to review it. I really hope that next week, whenever we get back to talk about this one, that I haven't been disappointed. And if I am disappointed, you need to be very afraid, because this was your pick this week.
Do you know what? It wasn't. I got you that book ages ago. You never picked it up.
No,
and
I'll
then
tell
you were
you
like, what book will we do? And you were going through your books and you said, well, we'll do this one. And I says, do you know, I've actually already read that. And you said, okay, we'll do it. So it's not my fault. I did not suggest it.
You bought it to me.
Yes.
It's your fault. It's a very different text to the Tim Weaver one.
Well, it's still
and that's
historical.
Okay. Yes. Oh, no, it is. It is. But I have to say, just closing thoughts on The Last Goodbye by Tim Weaver. Absolutely loved it. Thoroughly recommend it. 5 out of 5. I thought the characters were wonderful. The detail, the plot, very, very clever. And that any kind of nitpicking, and that's what it is, or any kind of criticism that we have talked about is really, really minor.
You're crazy.
With the exception of Christina, who is just crazy.
Would you like to hear my rating? 3 out of 5. Oh, no. 3.5 out of 5. Sorry, I said that too fast. It's all this. Do you want to know why?
Fill us in.
No Christmas.
I think we're repeating
no
ourselves
emotion
here.
From David Raker. It turns out the rest of the characters were human. We've just got someone with like a hero complex there. And what was the last bit? What was it? Oh, he could have killed him in the middle and he didn't. And then he's surprised about it. So
okay. She still read on. She still enjoyed it.
Oh, I did. Yeah. I'm telling you, those short sentences made all the difference.
Okay. And on that note, until our next episode, cheers, my dear.